Synthesizing Key Learnings from Shaping School Culture with instructor Dr. Tiffany Newsome, presented by Charlie Silver. 3 core concepts I found most valuable from the readings and class discussions are culturally responsive school leadership, restorative and preventative practices, and building relational trust and community connection. These concepts are critical because they counteract deficit ideology, which is a major cause perpetuating inequality in education. Gorsuch stated that deficit ideology puts the focus of inequalities on communities of disenfranchised people rather than on the socioeconomic and political systems around them. Deficit ideology might look like a school labeling high parent absenteeism at PTA meetings as lack of care, rather than looking at parents' varied work schedules or lack of transportation. Society has placed a stigma on poor people by making them thought of as lazy, cheating the welfare system, and unconcerned with education. Deficit ideology shows up in education when leaders and teachers apply these stereotypical views onto the poor and immigrant students in their schools as a way to explain challenges like low-performing scores, discipline issues, chronic absenteeism, and poor teacher retention. As leaders, we can use a culturally responsive approach to discover and remove inequalities in our schools. Khalifa said that being culturally responsive is to recognize and respect the various cultural backgrounds, race, language, gender, social class, ethnicity, and traditions of the students we teach. Leaders and teachers who are culturally responsive reflect on their biases towards their student community. This allows them to view the students' cultures through a positive lens. Students' cultures are seen as strengths rather than barriers towards academic achievement. For example, shifting a U.S. history unit to include local indigenous or immigrant narratives validates student culture as a strength. Milner said that through restorative practices, students are supported by the school community as they grow and learn, instead of being rejected by the school community for mistakes they have made. The idea is that students benefit from remaining in class when they make errors in judgment or break policies. This is crucial because removing a student, even for short periods of time, reinforces their sense of alienation and makes the underlying conflict worse. Restorative practices focus on repairing the harm. Students also benefit when school administration works collaboratively with their local school. Khalifa said that principals can offer better leadership when they have a strong connection with and reliance on community-based people, perspectives, epistemologies, and voices. A positive school climate is imperative for the success of students who face significant systemic barriers, cultural challenges, or identity-based risks. In order to establish a positive school culture, the school principal must lead the change to create a community of belonging. According to Thapa, schools with high relational trust, such as good social relationships among members of the school community, are more likely to make changes that improve student achievement. These ideas connect to one another and to the overall theme of building a productive and supportive school environment in the following way. One of the goals of education is to see all students perform at a high academic level. In order to achieve this high academic success, school administrators must develop and sustain positive relationships within their school community and with the local community at large. Riles said that culturally responsive practices, such as valuing the knowledge and experiences of students from different cultures, celebrating cultural holidays, adding more diversity to classroom curriculum, and maintaining high expectations for students, while also caring for the whole child, not just their academics, are used to strengthen student engagement. When school administration has a healthy relationship with the local community, they are more in tune with the needs of their student population. The process of developing these strong relationships takes a great deal of time. After relationships with the school and local communities are repaired, there must be an ongoing commitment from school leadership to ensure the new equity structure is permanent and lasting. Now that we've established the three core concepts and their connection, let's look at how we translate them into actionable leadership takeaways that can be immediately applied in a school setting. Specific leadership approaches, classroom practices, or decision-making strategies that can be applied in a school setting include moving towards preventative practices and away from punitive ones. Achieving this shift in mindset will require a lot of time and resources. Professional learning communities can be used to introduce the concept of inclusionary practices and explain the benefits to both staff and students. This structure would allow time for teachers to share their thoughts and opinions regarding this practice. The PLCs would be structured in 3 phases to incorporate inclusionary practices. First, instruction and modeling would be provided to give a foundational understanding. Next, teachers would be given time to collaborate on how to apply the practices to their classroom routines. Finally, observation and reflection of the use of these new practices would be used to refine their effectiveness. The reason for this three-phase approach, instruction, collaboration, and reflection, is that true change in practice doesn't happen with a single training session. It requires sustained, peer-supported effort. Another important takeaway is to closely examine school policies and procedures to see if they line up with culturally responsive practices. Policies regarding dress code, discipline, absenteeism, and native language use found to be deficit-oriented would be changed to reflect students' cultural backgrounds. A final specific leadership approach is to implement culturally responsive school leadership practices to strengthen relationships and ensure all students have an opportunity for high academic success. These practices include meeting with parent groups to discuss concerns about school policy or practices, hosting mobile office hours to establish relationships with community leaders and school staff, hosting a community advisory council, and holding mobile office hours and community engagement activities for school staff at local churches and community centers to engage more directly with the community. Additionally, they can include meeting with family members face-to-face, establish meaningful relationships, and connecting community organizations with students and parents. Each takeaway is important for promoting effective teaching, student engagement, and respectful school relationships because they compel leaders and teachers to expand their understanding of the various cultures in their schools and communities. They support effective teaching by ensuring all teachers employ effective classroom management and reinforce classroom rules and procedures by positively teaching them. They promote student engagement by ensuring all teachers are attentive to students' emotional states, guide students in managing their emotions, and arrange for supports and interventions when necessary. They are important for promoting respectful school relationships by ensuring supplemental behavior and social and emotional practices exist that are defined school-wide or across grade levels, spans by essential components of instruction, curriculum, and environment. Understanding these leadership practices is essential, but what is their overall impact? Let's discuss the implication these strategies have for positively transforming the entire school culture. Implementing these identified strategies could positively influence school culture, including communication, collaboration, and student involvement, student motivation. When students see their culture in their content, it reinforces that what they are learning matters to them. A positive school culture is imperative for the success of students who are immigrants and refugees new to the American school system. By establishing positive relationships between students, teachers, and the community, you can create a school environment where all students can achieve high academic success. When school administration works collaboratively with their local community, it demonstrates respectful school relationships. The new equity structure becomes permanent and ensures good social relationships among members of the school community, which are more likely to make changes that improve student achievement. Furthermore, enacting school-wide restorative practices ensures students are fully successful members of the school community. Finally, to move from planning to execution, I formulated specific actionable recommendations for any educational leader or teacher aimed to strengthen their school's culture of equity and belonging. The recommendations I would make for educational leaders or teachers are as follows. Work with school leadership, administration, leaders, lead teachers, curriculum facilitators, and the media specialists to make the mission to help teachers adapt their content curriculum to mirror students' cultures. Closely examine school policies and procedures to see if they line up with current culturally responsive practices. Policies regarding dress code, discipline, absenteeism, and native language use found to be deficit-oriented should be changed to reflect students' cultural backgrounds. Use professional learning communities, PLCs, to introduce the concept of inclusionary practices and explain the benefits to both staff and students. This structure would allow time for teachers to share their thoughts and opinions regarding this practice. Extend homeroom by 15 minutes to allow for daily morning interactions where teachers can review established norms, build community, and teach students how to use effective language for expressing their feelings. And host mobile office hours and community engagement activities for school staff at local churches and community centers to engage more directly with the community.